Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everybody. Ça me fait plaisir de voir. Contente d'être ici aussi avec mon collègue et ami David McGinty. So we just came out of another very important Canada-US meeting, and our two objectives were the same. First, to work on preventing tariffs, and second, working also on our response, should there be tariffs. When it comes to the first point on preventing tariffs, first and foremost, our objective is to make sure that we prevent tariffs, and we believe that we can do so. How can we do so? We will continue to engage with our different American counterparts. I'll be heading to Washington to meet Marco Rubio on Wednesday, and also I'll be in contact, and I've been in contact with Tom Homan, the border czar of President Trump. David and I are having conversations with Tom Homan shortly. And we know that President Trump has been referring a lot to the border. Again, we have a very good border plan. It is being implemented, and David will be able to talk to you about the latest on this front. When it comes to our trade relationship also, of course, we know that the U.S. has a surplus with us if we don't take into account our energy exports, which are driven by the U.S. demand. So at this point, the trade surplus that the U.S. has with us is around $60 billion, which includes goods and services. We are the largest export market for 36 states of the United States, and we're still the biggest customer to the U.S. So Canada is the biggest customer to the U.S. So that's for the first point, which is preventing tariffs. When it comes to the second point of our response, we will be ready for day one. And we've been saying that, and we are ready. I'll be talking this week to the British Foreign Minister. I'll be also talking to key European foreign ministers. I've been in constant contact with also my Mexican counterpart, and our objective, as I said, has been and will continue to be to prevent tariffs.
Merci beaucoup. Good morning, everyone. So our objective, as the Minister has just said, is to prevent any kind of tariffs forthcoming from the United States administration. And so we're working very hard, of course, in my case, on the question of the border. It's important for Canadians to understand a few things about the border we have with the United States. The first thing to keep in mind is it's a very strong border. It's one that's evolved over 150 years of relationship. It remains the longest undefended border in the world, and we intend to try to keep it that way. I think our American colleagues share the same view. The plan that we are implementing is multifaceted. It involves political outreach, official outreach, and operational outreach. So clearly, I'll be meeting with, eventually, for example, the new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Ms. Nome. We'll be talking to Tom Homan, we expect this week. At the same time, we have officials who are in and out of Washington, D.C., working with our American counterparts. And operationally, the CBSA and the RCMP are in constant touch with their counterpart organizations in the United States. So we're making huge progress. This plan is a plan which is, of course, international between Canada and the United States, but it's also a plan between different orders of government in this country. We've reached out to and engaged every single province in the country. They are engaged in the case of Alberta, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Quebec. They're making, for example, some of their police authorities available. Police of local jurisdiction are helping us on the border. This is a very, very good thing, and they should be commended for doing so, because it really is a Team Canada response. We're working, for example, on the question of fentanyl. It's important for Canadians to remember less than 1% of all fentanyl entering the United States is coming from Canada. Less than 1% of illegal immigration into the United States is coming from Canada. So we are tightening up even further our border to deal with some of these challenges. And as I say, it's a federal, provincial relationship and partnership. It's an interagency partnership. It's a bilateral partnership, and we've seen huge progress in the last 3 to 4 months.
Finally!
So we're continuing to make progress on the implementation of this plan. As I say, it's multifaceted.
So just in English, it is clear that we have to be extremely pragmatic when it comes to working with Europeans and also with Britain with the UK on this. President Trump has referred to using tariffs against the world in the context of the electoral campaign. And so that's why we know that in many European capitals and also in the UK, the conversation is ongoing on how to deal in terms of retaliation and what could be different responses to tariffs. So that's why it is important for us to be able to talk to these different foreign ministers. It is my job to coordinate the response. And not only that, we have a very important free trade agreement with Europe, and we want to continue to make sure that Canadians and Canadian businesses can benefit from it.
On what you just saw happen with Colombia and President Trump, where he threatened tariffs, seems to have negotiated some kind of deal, and then he promised tariffs, and then that tariff threat came off. Did you learn anything, or did the cabinet learn anything about how Trump is wielding this tariff threat right now?
For us, we're looking at what is our approach, which is basically preventing tariffs and also making sure that we're ready. And we know that President Trump is using tariffs as a way to put pressure on countries. That's what he's doing, and that will continue. Meanwhile, we have leverage. We have also different levers. We are the biggest customer to the U.S. We are the biggest customer in 36 countries, 36 states within the U.S. So there are lots of allies in the U.S. and also in Washington, and that's why we're doing the work, to make sure that ultimately we're able to get to a win-win situation. That's why we're addressing the concerns regarding the border, which is really important, and that we should never forget that this is a priority. It is a priority for us because we believe that we have to stop any form of illegal guns coming from the U.S. and also any form of irregular migration coming from the U.S. And meanwhile, we'll continue to do the work on making sure that ultimately facts prevail, particularly when it comes to the fact that the U.S. has a trade surplus with Canada when we exclude energy exports from Canada.
So Canada is willing to begin early renegotiation of CUSMA? Canada is willing to begin early renegotiation of CUSMA?
I didn't mention that. What I said is that the executive order already specifies that there is a process that prepares for eventually that renegotiation, which is set in 2026. My job, meanwhile, is to make sure that we have a good trade relationship, and we will be ready because at the end of the day, facts prevail, may be on the question of the overall trade relationship, which is through the free trade agreement, but also on preventing tariffs.
Just to clarify, are you open to reviewing this or in renegotiating it earlier, in 2025 instead of 2026? Are you open? What is the Government of Canada's position on that question?
What we learned about the CUSMA negotiation at the time was it is important to have process in place. We now have a process. The process is through the executive order, and we'll participate in that process. Thank you.
What are they looking for?
Parliamentarians who've been unwittingly or wittingly targeted by foreign interference. What do you think are the pros and cons of that coming out publicly?
I look forward to seeing what the Commissioner has to say tomorrow in her review. I'm told it's an extremely comprehensive piece of work, and it will be good. I think I hope we see a way forward pointed by the Commissioner and her team on how we can make progress with a very, very difficult situation and a very difficult phenomena. By the way, one which the United States of America is facing, which every Western democracy is facing. So I'm hoping there are many good recommendations for improvement that are forthcoming.
Quelles sont justement vos attentes par rapport au rapport?
On verra. J'aurai la chance de lire le rapport demain matin.
Should the report name names? Should the report?
En français, pouvez-vous être plus détaillé, s'il vous plaît, sur ce qui vous intéresse dans ce que le rapport...
Bien évidemment, comment procéder avec l'ingérence étrangère quand ça touche à nos processus démocratiques. comment la réforme de partis politiques aiderait la situation à non seulement protéger les partis, mais aussi d'augmenter la confiance des Canadiens et des Canadiennes dans notre système, de revoir exactement ce qu'elle veut dire au sujet des élections de 2019-2021. There are many, many good things that I think we're going to see tomorrow from this review, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll have more to say about it tomorrow. Thank you very much.
And I just, on the question of... Oui, mais un instant, ça sera pas long. So I've answered that question in French regarding Chandra Arya. What I said in French is, for me as a francophone, I thought that what he was saying regarding francophones across the country was unacceptable. And I expect the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada to be fully bilingual, because we are in a bilingual country. We are the party of official bilingualism, and it is at the core of our DNA. Thank you.